This is a Dancing Stickman production. This episode is for you, dear listeners. There are about 24 of you who will reliably listen to an episode as soon as I publish it. I don't know who you are, but I can see you on my dashboard. I can see that you're listening. This episode is to actually explain myself, I guess, because for one thing, things are going to change with the next episode that I publish, and I wanted to explain what's going on. And for another thing, I don't think I've ever actually explicitly talked about Dancing Stickman and what I'm trying to do here. I've just kind of gone full bore into projects without really explaining myself. So I feel like I owe you that. So I want to cover 3 things in this episode, which is the philosophy behind Dancing Stickman. This is a production company I have been ideating on and trying to get started for years at this point. And then I want to talk to you about what the current status is of the production company and then where it's going. So the philosophy behind my production company is this: artists are doing real labor and they should be paid for their work. Crazy, I know. I live in America. What is this expectation I have that art should be something that doesn't bankrupt people to do? But I've said this to people I know so many times that they're sick of hearing it, but I haven't said it here. My actual degree is in business management. The first time I went to college, I was a theater major with a focus in acting. And I wound up dropping out because I was 19 years old and the only roles I could secure were old women. And I knew that when I graduated, I would not be getting those roles. The second time I went to school, it was free until I turned 26. So I slammed a business management degree. I genuinely believe the reason why I have been able to have a successful career in post-production, even though I don't have any education in film, is because I have this business management degree, because it taught me how to work professionally and in an organized way. It's also why I am more attracted to starting a production company than necessarily even being a voice as it stands or a face as it will be. I want to build the structures that allow artists to make the work that they want to make. So we're starting with me GMing games and doing interviews and stuff like that. I am hoping to get this company to the point where I am helping other people create and produce and publish their own work. Because as somebody who's worked in digital media publishing, as somebody who's worked at tech companies, as somebody who has made podcasts for big brands and made videos for, companies whose names I have a certain insight into how to make this work go. And what my business education showed me is that the structures that exist that are the best at organizing a group of people towards a goal is businesses. That has never been something that the progressive activists that I've worked with have accepted as true. And I don't think a lot of artists accept it as true. But if you look at society, the organizations that get the most shit done are businesses. What that shit is that they get done, that's stuff that remains debatable as to its value to society. But the thing about a business is what it's providing is a structure that you can use to get people aligned on what the tasks are that you need to accomplish and what your goals are and how to pursue them long term. And then what those goals are, that is the thing that can and ought to change from business to business. In US capitalism, most businesses' goals are profit at all costs, including the cost of your labor, including the cost of your customers. At this point, our businesses have so oriented themselves towards profit at all costs that they are cutting both labor and customers out of their pool and focusing solely on wealthy people as if that's a good way to orient your goals. They're dumb. They don't actually want to do business well. They just want to make money. And it's annoying and dumb, but that doesn't mean the structure doesn't work. One of the things that I have been working on in every facet of my life, whether it is art or in activism, is sort of getting people on board with that. Like, hey, if we organized ourselves better, if we borrowed some of the systems and processes that businesses use so successfully, there's real potential here for us to actually be more effective in what we're doing. Because right now, what I've seen is that it's kind of all siloed, every man for himself, and nobody is really coordinated towards specific goals. And everybody has an idea of what they want to do, but their implementation is never super effective because it's very often just people going it alone and not bringing together the organizational capacity that a business creates. So, yes, I want Dancing Stickman to be profitable. The reason I want it to be profitable is so that those profits can go back to the people who do the work that get it done. Something that's a hill that I will die on is that in a business, management and labor should not be separated out. I actually have kind of mixed feelings about unions for this reason. Management is labor. And I say this as someone who studied management. Management is an extremely necessary task to the organization and running of a business. Yes, you need people who are doing the things that actually make the goods and services that people are paying for, but you also need somebody who knows what all the different departments are that are working on that and has a high-level strategy to get them all oriented in one direction. But that is just another form of labor. It is not worth more than labor, and it isn't something where that role should be the ultimate arbiter of everything guiding the business. The reason why I'm a little skeptical of unions is because when the setup is unions negotiating with management, the unions, these mass groups of people, are putting management in this position where they're saying, you have the power of decision making. We are equal parties at this table, even though there are vastly more of us than there are of you. It reinforces that dynamic. We don't have better options right now, except to create businesses that put management on the same level as labor. So Dancing Stickman is meant to be a profit-sharing cooperative when it gets to the point where I can hire people. I have a business model that I've created that is meant to compensate everybody who has donated labor to me on spec, which means for free. In artistic spaces, artists are so often just handing out their skill, the thing they do, to the people that they know and work with for free to help that person get a leg up. But that is something that needs to be honored. And so the way that I have honored it is building in profit sharing so that in the future, when the company becomes profitable, everybody who has done spec work for me will get shares of profit based on the number of hours that they put in. I look forward to being at the point where that is something that I can do, where I can compensate the people who have put in spec work for me. It's an incredible gift that they've given me, and I want to honor it by saying, you are entitled to the profits of this business because you helped build it. So that's one of the philosophies of Dancing Stickman. The other is that audiences should be part of telling the story. Dancing Stickman is built around radical imagination. We desperately need everybody engaging in their imaginative faculties right now. We need everybody being creative and thinking up things that haven't been thought of before, of telling stories that imagine different worlds, better worlds than the one that we currently have, because we cannot get out of the hellscape we're in without imagining what the world will be like when it's better. I think the next level of entertainment is audiences actively involved in telling the story. That is why for my first project, I did a D&D actual play, because I think collaborative storytelling is more powerful than solo storytelling. I think when you have multiple people at the table shaping the story, you create a better story. Multiple perspectives refine what the story can be. And especially when those perspectives come from very different life experiences, the alchemy that creates at a table makes stories that are totally unlike any that you've heard so far. But it's also why the second project that I jumped into was an alternate reality game. My hope with Broken Sky was to get people in the tabletop role-playing game space to come in and be part of this story that we were curating for them and that we were there to act out with them. That's why I was so heartbroken when it wasn't played, because the mechanics of the game were make art, tell stories, play games together, and it was to bring the players from playing alone to playing with each other. It was what it was. There's no going back and replaying that game. But it was my first attempt, and now I have learned what I need to learn about what I should do the next time. But the ambitions that I have for Dancing Stickman move outward from me very quickly once I have the resources to be able to do it. I have friends who write. I have friends who are working on their own games, and I have said to lots of people, hey, if you want to play test, I will absolutely record that, and then you have published content of your game being played, and I have content I can publish. What I want is to give people the opportunity to engage in this imaginative, collaborative storytelling. I'm working with a group of people right now who are new to actual plays, who are improvisers. And one of the things that they're having to get used to is, oh, I'm not used to describing what's going on around me. I'm used to dialogue. So it's this way to get people out of their comfort zones, what they're used to doing, and tell stories in new ways. So in a lot of ways, this company is very much a place for people to start on their journey. And I want that so badly, I can't even put words to it that are comprehensible. That's exactly what I want this to be. I want this to be a place where people learn how to make art themselves, and where it can amplify the work that they're doing, so that even as they're on the beginning of their journey, they're getting stuff out there. My personal philosophy for work is done is better than perfect. So you can do as much as you can to control the quality while you're making it, but the whole point of it is to make it, get it out there, make sure it's done, it's published. So that is what has been guiding me in terms of what I've been doing. There's business behind it, there's creative philosophy behind it. It is praxis for me, like I talked about with Ash in our interview. But that is what I have been noodling on as I have been working in post-production for the last decade plus, is how do I make a space for more artists who don't have a ton of experience to get going? The current status of Dancing Stickman is this. March 10th, 2025, I launched Oops All Witches. Later in March, maybe 3 weeks later, I was talking to Jacob and getting Broken Sky started, and that went up in July. There was a gap because I had to recover from it, but then I finished publishing Oops All Witches, and I have also been publishing Worldsbuilder to talk to people about the business of creativity and how to make a living making art. And I guess if I'm talking about the status of Dancing Stickman, really what I'm talking about is my own status. So I work, as I said, in post-production. I have been freelancing since 2021. I've had amazing opportunities. I have worked with some of the biggest companies in the world, and that's great, but I haven't had enough work. I haven't had enough income coming in. Last year, I used my entire retirement account to pay my bills and to pay people in Broken Sky. And I haven't had good or steady work for a year and a half at this point. I have, I've asked for help in the places that I need to. I've been applying for jobs, et cetera, but, it's a shit job market, and it's been really difficult to apply for jobs online for a long time now. And I am only intermittent about it because sometimes I feel like applying for a job on LinkedIn is like screaming into a void. So I am being more focused now on making Dancing Stickman something that can bring money back so that it's not a cost sink for me entirely. I would love to be able to get money back from it. I have a number of thoughts and philosophies behind how to bring in revenue through this production company, because working in media is very difficult. Nobody wants to pay for it. It's really annoying because everybody wants to consume it, but nobody wants to pay for it. No one wants to pay for the work. Nobody wants to pay people to make it. But everybody wants it, and so that's why we get AI slop. But my philosophy in trying to bring income in is to bring all of these things together, the business parts of it, the sort of activism and praxis parts of it, and the valuing art as labor parts of it. I am a big believer in securing distributed revenue sources, which means having income coming from more than one place. And the first place that I think I have the potential to get revenue from is through advertisements and sponsorships. It would be through growing my audience enough that I could make myself monetizable. And that is why how I'm going to be publishing is going to change very soon. There's a debate in my mind. I don't want to ask my audience for money. Nobody has any money, for one thing. So I don't see a reason to ask you to contribute to me because we're all in the same boat. So growing my audience enough to be able to get ads and sponsorships seems like the best first step. At some point, I would love to be able to be a subscription service, but I'm not there yet because we are in still just the first year of publishing. So where Dancing Stickman is going is that I am going to be changing up the way that I publish. So for the time being, I have been publishing through Podbean to a number of different platforms, including Spotify and Apple Music, but also ones that I've never heard of, like Deezer. I'm everywhere, baby. But I've been doing my research about distribution, and Spotify and Apple Podcasts are actually pretty trash for discovery. It's not a good way to grow the audience. It's great for an audio-only platform, but it's very difficult for people to find me through those platforms. So the new tactic here is to switch to growing my audience over on YouTube. That is actually where I spend the majority of my time when I am consuming creator media, is on YouTube. So I am going to change my publishing cadence of the podcast while I am creating a larger funnel for people to find me over on YouTube. So the way that it's going to work is this. So I have been trying the entire time to publish every 2 weeks, but that schedule, especially when it's a creative project like an actual play, is grueling. So I am going to change it to once a month with weekly content being published over on YouTube. And what that will be is stuff that goes behind the scenes of what I'm creating and of my business. So people who are looking for certain things regarding actual plays will find tips and tricks about how to make them, will find my personal business philosophy. It'll be a place for me to grow the audience that is interested in listening to me over there. So this is not the last episode I'm publishing on the every 2 weeks cadence. In 2 weeks, I will be launching a new project. It's called Next 150. Please listen to that episode. Next 150 is a project that does ask the audience to submit their own art and their own radical imagination. And I want to collect that while I am publishing my next actual play. So the way that it'll work is this. We're publishing this episode on March 27th, the next episode, which launches Next 150 on April 10th. And then the episode after that will publish in 3 weeks on May 1st. And that is going to be a new actual play. The actual play will be publishing once every 4 weeks. The rest of the content that I am going to be making is going to be focused on the business and philosophy behind what I'm doing, with practical tips and tricks for people who want to get started making their own art and creating their own business creating art. And I would really appreciate it if you'd follow me over there. It is at Dancing Stickman on YouTube. There I will be switching back to video content, which is my wheelhouse. And I have been a social content producer for a brand before, so I do know how to actually manage a social publishing schedule. It's going to be a challenge for me because I am going to be doing it through whatever my personal job circumstances are, whether I am continuing to freelance or whether I find a full-time job. But that is the funnel. That is where I can open up what I'm doing to a broad audience of people in a largely discoverable way. And then the podcast itself, the actual plays, are stuff I can filter them down to. I will be maintaining this content calendar for the rest of the year. And the hope is that I can get myself to a point where I'm publishing episodes of Next 150, of Worldsbuilder, of other actual plays alongside the ones that I am making. Because once a month is not that frequent. But if I'm to get to that point, I am going to have to be able to pay people to work with me one way or another. So the audience expansion has to happen one way or another. And the monetization has to become viable for me. I really, guys, I got to tell you, I was just thinking about this because I applied for a job I really would like. And one of the things that I keep thinking about is really the biggest reason why I want to make money is so I can pay other people. That's why. I want to make money so the money can go to other people. Yes, of course I want to pay my bills, but I'm actually really happy with where I'm at in my life. I really love the apartment I live in. I'm really happy living the way that I do and where I do. And frankly, I know that what I'm doing is something that deserves to have resources behind it. If you look at the way our society is structured with all of the wealth captured at the top, it's like a blood clot. We are causing our own society and economy to have a stroke. Wealth has to flow around in order to make a society work. And I desperately want to build a business and model that out so other people can see how it's done. That does that distributes resources to everybody. That is really what is driving me. It's what makes publishing alone so difficult for me, because I am at home alone talking into a microphone, knowing that there are 24 of you who are going to hear this, but that I have no idea who you are. And so I'm talking to myself. What I want to build is something where we can all see each other and all be working with each other and all be helping each other out by making art. So please keep an ear out for the next episode on the 10th, next 150. This project is, I think, really important, but there will be more of an intro when I publish. And please follow me over on YouTube at Dancing Stickman. And a new actual play is coming within about 6 weeks. So stay tuned, you guys. I'm trying not to get emotional. I can't tell you how grateful I am for those of you who have been listening. The fact that there are people who are here. I have what's called a sticky audience. I have low growth, but I have people who come around every time who are engaged with what I'm making, even if they're not showing me who they are and letting me know what they think of the stuff that I make. I know that they're there and that you are listening to this and listening to me. And I started this in March with truly no social presence, with no audience to speak of. And the fact that I have grown this podcast in a year to be within the top 50% of podcasts based on listens is huge. The fact that I got some of the coolest Spotify Creators Wrapped Awards at the end of 2025 that were things like most shared. Like, this podcast is more shared than 91% of other podcasts on Spotify. That's nuts, you guys. That means that you're super engaged. And I got things like instant hit show and most listened to. I am so grateful for that. So I am trying to build something where you can come with me, and not in the kind of way of like, hey, follow what I'm doing, but more like, hey, you can be part of this too. I'll be real with you. It is scary to do this sort of thing. It is scary to put yourself out there in this way and to be like, okay, I'm showing the world who I am, and I am going to try and really make something out of this. It's a hard thing to do. And that's something I do actually fundamentally understand about why Broken Sky flopped, is because we were asking people to put themselves out there publicly in a way that they didn't even know how to do it. And I can see why that is intimidating or scary. But I gotta tell you guys, once you start doing it, it stops being that bad. And what I want to do is help all of you, because I have to imagine that the people who are listening are creators in some sense. You just got to start doing it, and just know that you're not going to do it that well when you start. My year last year was not great in terms of the way that I published, because I had huge gaps and I had to rebuild a listening audience when I stopped after Broken Sky and only restarted again 3 months later. Like, I didn't do this perfectly. So I really want to communicate to you, the audience who listens to me within 2 weeks of my episodes going out, you can do this too. And I am trying to create ways for you to come with me and do it with me that are low effort and not too scary. And that's what I really want to build a business out of, is all of us making art together and imagining new worlds together. So thanks for listening. Next week's going to be a little different. And then after that, we're back to actual plays for the foreseeable future. Please follow me over on YouTube at Dancing Stickman. And hey, if you ever want to leave a comment, I'd love to hear from you. So thanks so much. And I'm excited for what this next year is going to bring.